You fool. No man can kill me.
I am no man.
I think this was a very apt intro, given the fact that the next two episodes we're going to be discussing for Rings of Power follow. Well, I mean, at this point, we know how episode 6 ends, right? We're discussing episode 6 and 7. So I'm sorry that we weren't able to do it last week, but here we are to do it this week. And so yeah, I think that intro works very well for this discussion. Welcome back, Roy.
Happy to be back. Sorry again about last week and last night, so we're a little later than normal. But
to be very honest, I would have held on for another week, just in case. No, honestly, for me personally, in case something more interesting happened. I don't think anything interesting has happened. Well, interesting enough has happened for me to be like, oh my god, I need to talk about it. Okay, we see Mordor's origin story.
Yes,
that's the big. Honestly, that in the 2 episodes,
I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. I wasn't expecting them to like create Mordor specifically the way they did. Maybe that's a oversight on my part, but like I was like, whoa, okay, like
okay,
this because it felt more like a finale than like whatever I guess we're gonna get next week.
Interesting. So you think but I mean, we are gonna get I think I was more excited about seeing the fall of Numenor, and
we're definitely not getting the fall of Numenor. Like,
no, we're not getting that. No, and we're getting that next week or next season rather.
Yeah.
If we get it next season, I mean, we are getting it next.
No, it's in production. So.
Okay.
They just started I think they just started filming.
Jeez.
In the UK now, which I think is designed to get the turnover faster.
Yeah.
Think go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No.
Well, I just think they also want to beat. The rumor is that House of Dragons could take 2 years to produce a new season, so it won't be till 2024. So I bet they're trying to, if they can beat House of Dragon, they might be able to, win the conversation, which I don't believe they have.
I don't think they can, though. I don't think they can, because right now, I feel like the only conversation happening for this show right now at this point is, oh my god, it looks great.
It does look great. I mean, the destruction of Mordor, or the Southlands into Mordor, looked evilly beautiful, and so did Mordor. Like, Mordor looked really fucked up. Pardon my French. Like, it was
right. It looked. It's funny. I think Mordor looks better here than in the Lord of the Rings.
It does, yes.
And I think maybe because over the time Mordor, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ash dissipates or whatever.
Yeah. But no, Mordor covered in ash, I think looked good. And you know what? I was kind of looking forward to this conversation. Maybe after we have this conversation, I'll feel better about this show. I think that's what it is. I think it's very boring. I saw a review that I wanted to send. You know what? I'll send it here now. So this was on like Rotten Tomatoes or something, and someone said, I need to post this because I think it's really funny. I saw a review, and I hope you laugh as much as I laughed. Right?
Let's see.
You might not laugh as hard as I did, but I thought it was really funny.
Still nothing there.
Yeah,
you're putting it here.
I'm putting it here. The last part of it, though.
I mean, I honestly, I think you could definitely have said that about previous episodes of this show. But I think if there's 2 episodes that were more exciting and lots of stuff happened, it was these 2. Like, now the beginning of episode was 6 was 6. The stuff in 6 was very paint by numbers. Like, it was, we've seen this kind of thing before. Like
Yes.
people, under siege, preparing. They win a horrific victory but it wasn't really the bad guys, and the bad guys show up and they get saved at the end. Like all of that we've seen before, but I thought it was well executed versions of it. Like,
and that's perfect that it was, but I thought it was boring, like you said, because this is nothing. You weren't, again, I don't know why I expected this show to reinvent the wheel. Like, I don't know why I expected that, but I got nothing from all of that.
and that's fair.
I felt nothing for the characters who were in danger, because in my heart of hearts, I'm like, okay, and Numenor's on their way, right? Like, this is, yeah, like 6 people are gonna die, and literally, I counted 6 people did die.
Yeah.
Like when Adar came in and broke into their what was it called, their stronghold,
Yeah. the tavern.
The tavern. Hey, what kind of made me laugh was like, Patrick goes, and Patrick loves this show, so even for Patrick to say, it was like, he found the tavern very odd that they would have to break it down when you could just literally burn them out.
Well, because they need to know where the key is. That's the coolest key of all time, I have to say.
Right. And you didn't want to kill Bro and the other guy.
Yeah, there's
right?
always these like, why don't they just shoot the elves in the head, right? Like, kind of stuff. I don't know. Like,
so I didn't, like I said, I didn't feel anything when all of that happened. Maybe at when, and then I think the most egregious part of that episode to me was when Adar walks out, when Numenor is landing, right? Adar walks out and he calls to the old guy. And I was like, oh, I know exactly what's
yeah, I knew exactly. I kept being like, could you open the package? Like, it's fake.
Like, kid, you just, like, how is everyone just sitting there and passing this folded blanket around? Like,
that was very stupid. I honestly think, though, Mo, that your problem with this episode is the fault of the previous episodes, because I think the previous episodes did a poor job of making you care about any character that's not Galadriel. Like, okay. And I think, although I maybe it was because I took a break from like watching the show, and maybe like
back to back.
I watched them back to back. But I also think like I didn't have any like bad taste in my mouth or anything like that, where I was like able to take these episodes like on their own terms, because it'd been a while since I watched Rings of Power. So like I didn't like, it was just like, okay, yeah, like in the context of these episodes, I cared about whatever the name of the male elf is. I can't remember. Aldur. They never say it. They almost never say it. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Aldur.
He's such an important character. You don't say Arundir and Theo and Broen.
Yeah, and like I like those 3 of them. Like I cared in the context of the episode. Like when I knew Galadriel was going to come, but I felt like the way they staged their rescue was pretty good. Like the chain thing was cool. Like Galadriel, like leaning off horses and like shooting stuff was like cool.
Why do you think I saw the episode the way I did it? Because wow, like every Numenorian soldier was getting their asses handed to him, and then here goes Galadriel, just like dodging spears. Like, nah, she was cool. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and act as if like watching some of that wasn't cool. Galadriel was 100% cool. I think again that was the bright spot for me in any of those episodes. Was okay. Well, Numenor is gonna come. How is it gonna look? And
their armor looked cool.
Yes. To be very honest, if Isildur dies right now, I honestly won't lose sleep. Mm-hmm. The only reason I'll lose sleep is because you're changing the lore, right? But
he's definitely not dead. The question is, when is he going to show up again? Like I thought he was going to come at the end of the episode and be like, Dad, we need to like stay and help these people or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I think this is how I think it's going to play. I think he's going to be the one that's going to convince because when we get back to Numenor, it's going to be well, we don't need let's mind our business, because even
we got our shit kicked in.
Right. Even Elendil at this point is like, yeah, I don't think I regret coming here. I regret da. And he was so gung ho, he's the only other one, that he's the one that kind of convinces people to come out here, and now he's regretting his actions. I think Numenor. I think Isildur is going to be the one when he comes back. He's going to come back home. Like I feel like we're going to watch Isildur's journey back to Numenor.
That could be something that happens, yeah.
And he's going to convince them. Like it's going to be like a couple of wasted episodes, right? Isildur is fighting the waves. We're going to see the Navy.
Well, there's only one more. So do you think he's not going to show up again until next season?
I think Isildur's journey to convince Numenor happens next season.
Well, he has to convince his dad to leave. Like, I think what happens in the finale is that they get magged by that bearded man and his like Roman ass looking son who is apparently in love with Isildur's sister. Yeah. So, like, I think they're gonna magga that queen. She's blind. Like, and there's like an explosion in the trailer. Like she gets magged like hard.
Yeah, I think she's dead. Sucks. I think she's dead. And we get to come back. But I think maybe Isildur's journey happens off camera, right? And he
just shows up at the end. He's like, "Yeah, we gotta go."
Yeah, like that. Yeah, we have to stop them. We have to help something. You know, we're human. They're human. We got to help our fellow human. You know, if we don't help them, do you think Numenor will be safe? I'm like, that's the storyline, right? Do you think like they're gonna stop at the Southlands? Do you think? But what I do, however, care about though is when Galadriel gets back, how does that play out? Because she's supposed to be in heaven, not heaven, right?
And the elves lost their access to Mithril.
Right.
And so the elves are all supposed to now all have to go back to heaven because they're all dying if they stay, right?
Right.
So
that is, for me, is going to be super interesting how that plays out. Actually, you know what? I care about that more than I care about anything else, because we know elves to be pretty much like, it's not my business, right? I mean,
it's my business. They don't stop being it's not my business till the end of the age. Because the second age is like the age of elves, right?
So this is where it's still there. Oh yeah, that's right, because they do kind of help. If going by the start of Lord of the Fellowship, elves and humans fight off. Okay, all right.
Yeah. And then when they fail to completely defeat Sauron, the elves like pass the torch to humans, and they leave Middle Earth slowly.
Elrond's fault, because all he had to do was push that crazy human.
Shock Isildur. Like, I mean, there's still like a lot to accomplish, right? Because like if they want to follow the source material, right? Sauron has to corrupt Numenor, which he is not there. So they have to defeat him and then come back and corrupt Numenor.
Right. So question is, are we seeing Numenor? Because the guy has to be the king of Numenor. The MAGA, Donald Trump.
Look, as we're learning again, as we learn in Andor, everyone has their own rebellion. All right, and that's what Paulina's been teaching this week.
Like, all right. I think what we do know is MAGA guy becomes king, right? And he's the one who brings back Sauron after he becomes king. So I'm just trying to find out when that happens. So I think all of that happens in season 2. All of it.
I agree as well.
So I would wager that season 2 is the fall of Numenor. If season 1 technically is the rise of Mordor.
If season 1 is the rise of Mordor, I could definitely see the second season being like the fall of Numenor. And then the third season could be the founding of the human kingdoms by Isildur and Dad Eladriel. And then
the fourth would be where they defeat the war. And they said four seasons, right?
Yeah, because I assume it will end with
the beginning of Fellowship.
Yeah, like the big battle.
And I'm gonna keep saying this. Everything is Elrond's fault. First of all, you have no business. Elrond got what's the word? The guy who kind of makes him. Oh, your dad said my destiny's in your hand. Blah blah blah. That was very like.
He got manipulated.
Yeah, definitely. Elrond gets manipulated here, and then Elrond lets his friendship with Isildur cloud his judgment.
You mean with Dorian?
No, Isildur. Apparently, that's why like Isildur is his friend. That's what we learn in Fellowship.
That's why he doesn't chuck him in the lava. Just
why doesn't
elf kick him.
Right? Yeah, that's his buddy.
Well, they haven't even met yet, so
no,
maybe they will meet in the end of this.
That's I want to see all of that, right? No, because I think the thing that makes me like not really like jive with this series is outside of say the things that I've read, I know a lot of things, right? I know Elrond and Isildur meet. I know Elrond looks as Isildur as like because Elrond that I know now is just he seems like a great person. Isildur that I know now, I have no like if he dies, yeah. So I'm my thing is how do we get to that point where Elrond is like my friend Isildur got corrupted by the ring? How do we get there?
Well, he instead of going back to Numenor, he could go back. Like the finale could be he instead arrives at the Elven Kingdom, Isildur. So because so he like Galadriel is like getting chewed out or whatever by the king, and then Isildur is like humans need help, like. And there's still rings. No ring has been forged yet. Do you think the finale, one of the rings gets forged?
The entire show is called Rings of Power, and not one single ring has happened. I am offended.
So I think in the finale, the elven rings get forged.
Okay.
With the ones that are not have anything to do with
Sauron, obviously. And maybe this is where Galadriel gets one. I think Elrond got one, and who else?
Somebody else has it, and then he gives it to Gandalf.
Okay. Something interesting happened.
I don't know who the dude that had it before Gandalf is off the top of my head.
But since Eminem.
Well, Eminem is a bad guy. That's been established now. But Eminem is a female presenting person.
Yes.
Which I did not realize in the previous episode.
So I will say this though, something interesting happened with the hobbits.
Yeah, do you think they're gonna have to form Bree now?
Yes. And I think I 100% think that is Gandalf.
Yeah, it's gotta be Gandalf now. He's not evil, right? That's what this is. He's not Sauron.
Like even though he's done.
He didn't even mean to do any of the bad things.
Yeah, none of the things he did were bad, right? Were meant to, right? Even him tapping into dark magic wasn't something that he meant to because he's still trying to figure himself out. I think that is but there is also a chance that when Eminem does find him, they make him Sauron.
I think he's got to be Gandalf at this point, right? Because he built the forest for the hobbits, and the hobbits are going to rescue him, right?
Right. Like that's why I'm like, oh, once they said I'm going to get my friend, I'm like, yep, Gandalf, because like that's how at this point when I push pause next week, I don't want to see Stranger. I want to
I just am tired of I don't mind him being like an inexperienced Gandalf, but I'm tired of the he's quiet, he doesn't say anything. I'd like next season to Gandalf to be more of a character than just mumbling, and he doesn't need to have cool magic or whatever. He can still be struggling to control his magic or whatever.
Right. When Nori gives him an apple, he's like,
yeah, just okay, this kind of overstayed its welcome. I think the Stranger trope to me.
Right. I think, but I do think next week he does some cool magic though to defeat.
Yeah, I mean he's got to beat these Sauron people, right?
Right, and I think he does that.
But there are how many other wizards? There's four or five other ones.
I thought it was 5.
So there's Saruman the White. There's Gandalf. There's the Brown, the Ragav. In the movie that uses the rabbits as his chariot. Ragavan,
Yes.
Ragavan, that's a magic card. Rastafan, I don't know. Whatever the R, the brown. What are the other two though?
Let me
I have
see.
to look that up.
Wizards and Lord of the Rings.
There are 5.
Yes, it's 5 of them. There's a brown one. There's obviously the white. There's blue. Okay, let me see.
Blue.
Gandalf, Sauron, Radagast, and the
Radagast, that's it.
The blue wizards are circumvent Sauron to bring
Atar and Polydon, the blue. There's 2 of them.
Yeah, it's 2 blues. Yeah, out there, Altar and Palando.
Little is known about them.
Yep,
because they traveled into the east, and their fates are unknown.
So we only really know 3, right? Because the one from what's that movie called?
The Hobbit. He's in the Hobbits movie.
Yeah, the Hobbits movie. Yeah.
He's also in Lord of the Rings in the book. He helps rescue.
Oh yeah,
Gandalf from Saruman.
Okay. Oh, is that who he like when he talks to the butterfly?
Yeah.
Okay. That would make sense because he's in tune with animals, right? Radagast?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he does that whole like he has that chariot powered by rabbits in Hobbit. Yeah.
Hobbits, yeah. It was pretty cool, Hobbits. Hobbits had great ideas. Just
Al and I watched that first one again. It is not very good.
I think it has horrible execution. I also like Desolation. You know what? Never mind. Let's not get there. Let's not get into that because I feel like it's a whole other discussion. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think what has made me like sour to this. You might be right as well. You know, in the fact that previous episodes didn't really establish any kind of like anything for me to hold on to. Like, okay, these characters, and again, I'm looking at this episode. I was like, okay, so things did happen that were interesting that I do like. I don't completely hate the episode because the Hobbits thing, I actually like that. You know,
the Hobbits were the most interesting they did, but also because the Hobbit stuff moved forward, which it's been like it has physically moved forward for many episodes, but like they've just been spinning their wheels. Like, oh, is Gandalf good? Is Gandalf bad?
Is it or is it not? And I think
is that lead Hobbit a dick or not a dick? Like.
And I think the other thing that I've always I think the biggest thing that we both have said is the strongest thing for the show is the Elrond, and like my opinion, that is just continuing to get better and better and better and better.
The dwarf stuff was like unbelievable in this previous episode.
Yes, and I think when it hit its head was when Durin have that conversation. I was like, oh,
coo. That's what my wife and I were chanting. Coo.
Think so?
I mean, yeah, I think he's gonna overthrow his dad in the next episode. How else is he gonna like
get Mithril? But now we know now why you don't want to dig too. I mean, we've always known why
you do, but it's a long time in the book universe. Like in the story, it's a long time before they hit the Balrog. Right, he's not just like chilling there at the bottom of that one vein, like.
But you know what I think it is? Again, I think it's something like, oh, look, you know, by the way, this thing happened, or this guy's here before. Like, don't forget. Like, it's a wink, and it's a cool wink, but it's a wink.
It is a cool wink. Yeah, but it's like a while before this has to happen. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe next season they'll dig too deep and the Balrog will burst out.
That's crazy though, because it's not them it happened to. Correct. It wasn't them it happened to, right? It's
like 3 or 4 Thorins down the line.
Yeah, and it was a different. Was it a Thorin?
Yeah, it's a Thorin that it happens to. That Moria happens to.
Oh yeah, Moria. So I'm like, okay, this is not like. So I think it's a cool thing for us to know like this is here, but I don't think they're going to do anything with it. Do you think they are?
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they do it in later seasons, but like if. Like season 2, that happens. It's like, come on, like,
yeah. Again, Sauron, not Sauron, is
okay. So I think there's some confirmations of who is not Sauron, like in this. So the question is Adar actually Sauron? Like, because he tells that whole story of he killed Sauron, which obviously isn't
Right.
true. But
yeah,
and he created Mordor. So
he's not. I don't
but
know.
so do you think? So I don't think that
It's Halbrand.
Halfdan or whatever his name is, Hall is Sauron. Although he is walking around pretty well for a dude who's supposedly dying.
Yeah, like he was literally on bed rest, and now he's like on his.
I think he ends up being one of the ring wraiths. That's my theory.
Oh,
Not that he gets a ring of power and becomes a ring wraith.
Ooh, let me see.
He's not in the books, but they also don't say which king. As I understand it, they also don't explicitly say all of the like kings who become ring wraiths.
Right, they never. It's only the one, right? The main.
The Witch King of Aramor or whatever.
Yeah, he's the only one who's named. Oh, not named anyways, but like.
But has a significant backstory.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to talk about from this?
I think that I think they've moved towards a good. They're ending on a stronger note. I think actually giving myself space allowed me to enjoy these episodes more than if I had just like kept watching it week after week. Because I think those early episodes did waste real estate. And it was way too decompressed for not a lot. It wasn't like delicious, like, yeah, I don't want this to end, or like, Sopranos or Breaking Bad or Mad Men style, like, we're going to really build these characters up kind of decompression. It was more just like shit just didn't happen and the characters didn't get built up, right? It felt like bad episodes of Game of Thrones where just they were plate, just like, let's put another plate on there and spin it. And then finally they flung some of those plates out here and it was pretty satisfying for me. So I'm looking forward to the finale. I hope that Rings of Power ends on a strong note, sort of that people can like appreciate it. I think it's overall like, I don't think it's as good as House of the Dragon. I think House of the Dragon just straight up wins the sort of
I was getting ready to
head to head, but I do think it's better than the sad thing is that it's better than its closest competitor, Wheel of Time, which I liked Wheel of Time, but Wheel of Time was firmly mid.
Angst?
Like
you liked angst? Teenage angst?
I mean, look, I don't mind that shit at all, but I think Wheel of Time had some real weaknesses, don't get me wrong, but I think it had some good highs. Its finale was all over the place. Like, it's all over the place. Like, and this is much closer to that. Like, I think both adaptations did some things really well. Like, for example, oh my god, Wheel of Time, the sorceress woman and all the sorceresses were really well adapted, I felt. Same with this, I felt that Elrond and the dwarves were really well adapted. But there's stuff that's all over the place and the pacing is really slow. I felt that the same thing was true in Wheel of Time. I think these shows actually are closer than they might have seemed when it started.
Okay. I can get with that. Yeah, definitely not. It's not better than. You know what? I'll give you this. It's better than the weakest episode of Game of Thrones. It's better than season 8.
Oh yeah, easily better than season 8. Better than season 7.
Yeah.
Even though season 7 had some high highs, but had some lows.
It's not better than season 6, which I think is the turn of Game of Thrones to me. It's where Game of Thrones started going down the pooper, but it's not. It's still not. I don't think it's better than that. But
I think season 5 is when the seam started to show, but because that's the season that it's all Ramsay all the time, right? It starts to be all Ramsay all the time.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't season 5 Thanos, oh my god. Stannis dies in 6, right? It's 6, right? That he dies?
Yeah, when he sacrifices his daughter, yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's when it's all off the rails in 6.
Had two battles, right? Had that battle where wait, was that season 6? Because Ramsay's the one that does it, right? Oh no, Ramsay's not.
Yeah, Ramsay's the one who kills Stannis.
No. It was I thought it was Gwendolyn. What's her name?
No, she kills him. Like actually, like chops his head off, kills him.
Yeah. But it was
Ramsey kicks his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he kills his daughter, and then he goes to fight Ramsey for Winterfell and loses, and everything. And then he tries to escape, and then she sees him and she kills him.
That was the finale. Or is Battle of the Bastards that same season?
I don't. That's what I'm trying to think about now. That's crazy.
Because season 7 is Dany's invasion of Westeros, right?
Yes. No. That was 8.
No, doesn't she invade in 7 and 8 is because no. She invades in 7 because 8 is like season premiere episode before the Battle of Winterfell, sad people, 2-part like finale. So Battle of the Bastards I think is 6 because John's King of the North
is 6, definitely 6.
Okay, and John's King of the North at the end of that one.
Yes, and then 7 is just a shit
7
show.
It's high highs and low lows, right? Because yeah, the end of season 7 is Dany agrees to sail north to help the fight, and it's revealed, and she and Jon bone in the finale.
Yes,
but at the same time, it's like that's actually his niece,
right? And that's
or his aunt,
and that's when what's his name finds out. But yeah, back to
Rings of Power.
Back to Lord of the Rings. You know what? Maybe now I am more, like I said, this conversation. I felt like this conversation would make me a little more open to seeing what just to see. But I felt like a lot of the show is boring.
I agree.
Boring. And even that battle, I was like, okay, nothing exciting is happening. I know they're gonna get saved. I felt no danger. I felt nothing for any of the characters. And when Isildur finally decided to be a good person, because again, he's been a shit person, but when he finally decided to be a good person and hold this thing, get into a Superman era and try to grab a support beam from falling, I was like, he's gonna die or something. I'm like, he's not gonna make it out of this alive, right? Obviously, he didn't. But I again, if
there's no body, so
right. If another person comes and says, my name is Isildur, I'll be like, okay, cool. Like, I don't like this person. I don't like this character. And this is someone I was kind of sympathetic to. The reason I was sympathetic to Isildur was when it's because of Boromir. Like, we see how the ring corrupted Boromir and what it did to him. And by the end of that by that point in Fellowship where we get to him sacrifice himself, I'm like, dang. Now I start thinking about Isildur, like, dang, so maybe like this is what happens to him, right? And he gets very corrupted by the ring. He starts to lose it a little bit, and so I mean, it was just raiders that killed him, right?
Yeah, just random ass orcs.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, maybe if I get his backstory, because I was excited when we got to him, and I'm like, yes, we're gonna get Isildur, and I get to meet this character and I hate him. And I'm like, you know what? I want you to die now. But I don't even like
it's hard to disagree with that, but I think
you think he's gonna get redeemed?
Well, I think he's not necessarily gonna get redeemed. I think he gets somewhat redeemed. Like I thought they were gonna go with like it's a tragedy. Like Isildur has like a weakness, but he mostly like he overcomes his weakness, right? Like it's the pressure of the ring, right? That this weakness that's at his core is always there, but he's able to overcome it until he's given this like supernaturally like push, a supernatural push that causes him to embrace this weakness, and he becomes a piece of shit. Instead, he's just kind of a fuck boy who doesn't fuck, and I was more sympathetic to him in these 2 episodes, right? Because it felt like he was overcoming that because he participates in the battle, he helps save his friend. He doesn't give his friend a hard time when his friend is like not going to go fight with him, right?
Yeah, I'm done fighting. Like, it's like, you know what? That's cool.
He's like, that's cool. Like, he's not like giving him shit or something like that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I was like, okay, it's like, all right, so Isildur is going to become this like more valiant person who leans into the good aspects of his personality, right? But then he does it, right? When he tries to helps rescue the queen, and then he's just gone, right? So It will be. My verdict is still out on Isildur if he comes back.
I think it's a setup for them to redeem his character. Either he goes and convinces Numenor, or his dad, like, look, listen, I know you feel the way you feel, so, like the fight, but I really think that what we did was good. Like, if I can see we did the right thing, and I would be like, and for me, that would be like, yo, I would look just like his dad, like Isildur, like, yeah, like that's a strong character change, right? From the person who just wanted to go to West Numenor. Was it West Numenor?
He wanted to go out to Valnar or whatever, where the elves go. That's where he wanted to go explore.
Right. And then if that happens, or he could go to where the Elf Kingdom is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, hey, like you
Sauron
guys don't know
back.
Like he might actually see Sauron, and be like, look, we have a fight on our hands. Like, I'm here to tell you, like Galadriel's getting chewed out. Like you were stating, and boom, he pushes through the double doors like Aragorn in that one scene.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen, like, that, because that could be it, right? Because Aragorn definitely did that, and that's another thing they could just retread with Isildur, right?
Right, because they are related, right?
Yeah, they are. So,
and we need the sword. He's got to have a sword. The sword.
Right. And that's the thing. And then maybe I think the biggest thing that I do want to see is Mithril, like how that plays a part into all of this.
Yeah.
So I think, like the MCU, they, in my opinion, they kind of have a lot to do for a finale. But we are getting season 2, so maybe they don't.
I mean, I think there's some things that they need to resolve. Like, they got to resolve Gandalf. Like, I think we're going to get clear resolution on Gandalf.
Correct.
I think we're going to get clear... Like, I don't think we're necessarily going to get clear resolution on Galadriel, like what she's going to be doing. I think we get clear resolution on, like, the dwarves.
Okay.
And then something's going to happen with the rings. I think there's going to be 2 bits that are going to end. One, I think they're going to forge at least one of the elven rings. 2, I think we're going to find out who Sauron is at the end.
Ooh,
that Sauron is going to be like the last shot. Kind of like how the Southlands being burnt into Mordor was the end of this. Like,
and they don't even call it Mordor, right? They don't even call it Mordor. Like, it's
he was like, he didn't even say it, right? He was like, don't call it that.
These are not the Southlands anymore. And then he sits down, like.
I guess this is something I was talking with my wife, though, about this approach to the orcs. And I've said this on the show before. You either have to pick a lane, which is that orcs are people, or with souls, and you need to negotiate and overcome your differences, and that's what the heroes need to do eventually, right? Or orcs are these like horrific creatures spawned of evil that are cannon fodder. Right. You cannot, in my opinion, try to like toe the middle line, and they try to do that in this show.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
it's kind of uncomfortable.
Like, are they making orcs like stormtroopers in the new Star Trek, the sequel trilogy, right? Because what we know about the stormtroopers is they're people, the children taken
that are kidnapped and brainwashed.
Right. Is that what you'd rather they did with orcs?
I'd rather they just like orcs are evil, like spawn of evil. Like that's what like how, like, George R. R. Martin and other fantasy authors like constantly criticize orcs, right? Because they just get massacred and like literally they get genocided in the end after Aragorn takes over, right? And the way Tolkien gets around that is orcs are not like natural creatures. They are not people. They are not elves. They're not dwarves. They are like sub creatures, right? Now, as my wife says, that's just propaganda, right? Like you could say that's just propaganda. They are people too. It was a horrific thing that the humans did, right? And you can do that. That's an interpretation. Like, and there's a lot of like responses to Tolkien about that, right? Like China Melville wrote a book about that. There's like other books that and both like works of fiction and academic works that talk about this. Peter Jackson chose to like basically be like orcs are just evil. Like they're just evil.
they're born from the mud and dirt. And
yeah. They're evil, right? The Urukai, right? So like, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Don't think about it, right?
To be honest, I love that. I love that what Peter Jackson did, and I think they're going back on it again.
Because like Ador's right. Like if orcs are like living beings, like orc nationalism should be a thing.
Right, we should have our own land and one.
Like I'm just saying, like, and Galadriel's like, I'm going to commit genocide. Like, if you accept like any of the premises that the show is presenting to you, like, yeah, orcs should have their own homeland. Yeah, orcs deserve like basic respect. But also, there's Sauron, who is like the devil. Like once you start going down this path, you just like unravel the fiction.
You unravel
right?
all of that because Sauron is anything to be trifled with, and his children shouldn't be played with either. Like they're just evil. Like there's no,
like they're Nazis. Like Sauron is Hitler. Like you can't humanize Hitler. Hitler is bad. Like, and that's a play that like lots of like we live in an age where we like want to sympathize with villains, and we want more complex villains, right? And I agree with that in many cases, but sometimes evil is just evil.
Have you seen the Jeffrey discourse?
I ignored it. Like
listen,
like evil can just be evil.
I want to put hands on people.
Like the Nazis are just evil. Like you can explain why people are drawn to Nazism and how they become Nazis.
Genocide. What they did, everything they preached was fucking evil. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no excuses. And you're right. We're living in the age because we're getting more complex villains in our stories. Like people now want to look at actual villains in real life and say, "But why did he do it?" No, there's not. No, there's not. But why? There's not a reason or right. Like fuck that.
Like you can explain Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, and I think explaining how people like Jeffrey Dahmer come to exist is important. Both social science and things like that, but also like Jeffrey Dahmer killed a bunch of people, and he's a bad person. Like you can feel maybe bad for him in certain aspects, but he still killed a bunch of people. You should spend your sympathy on his victims, right?
Right.
And like the problem, like I mean, Tolkien created this problem for us, right? Like he could have created orcs, as a more sympathetic, like people who were tricked, right? Or that Sauron like overwhelmed them, like actual Germans, right? Like the. Like actual Germans, and I say this as someone who like my great uncle was in the Luftwaffe, right? Like right, like regular everyday people served for these evil causes, and that's interesting, right? Why people do that, but that's not what he did with orcs. Orcs are just born evil and just are evil. They are redeemable, and like people having issues with that is fine, but like the more you push that into Lords of the Rings text itself, the more Lord of the Rings breaks down. And it's like I've said since the first episode, right? Like Lord of the Rings is not Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is in response to it, right? It's not China Melville, right? It's not like even what's his name? Not Robert Pattinson. Oh my God. Robert Jordan. There we go. It's not who's the guy that everybody loves that finished the Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. Hold on.
What's his name? It's escaping me. Everyone loves that guy. He just did that Kickstarter that people spent all that money on. Not Robert Jordan. He finished Robert Jordan's books, Wheel of Time. Brandon Sanderson. I got there. These aren't like Brandon Sanderson villains, right? Like Lord of the Rings is different, and not always in good ways, right? Like, but it's different, and it was just really weird to me. Like the Galadriel stuff with the orcs, like I don't know. I'm kind of lost in the weeds here, but that was my biggest thing about this episode.
I see. So, all right, we're here.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about both. We've mashed up both episodes, to be honest. We kind of mashed them up. I mean, because honestly, to me, both episodes kind of the way when episode 7 picks up, we're literally picking up at Numenor, at Mordor, right? So we're doing that, and then we're doing some orc stuff, and then we're doing some elf stuff, and all of that. So everything kind of just really mashes up into each other. What's the grade for 6 and 7? You want to give it a grade?
I'll give them separate grades, actually. I think 7 or 6 is a B plus. 8 or 7, the second one, is a B minus, sometimes a C plus. is my take.
They're both C's to me.
That's fair.
And I think honestly, before this conversation, they were D's. So I raised them a full grade, not even a plus or minus. I raised them a full grade. But honestly, I think where it suffers again, the whole orc thing breaks down a lot of it, right? It's just pick one, right? Just pick one. When Adar is sitting there calling them his children, and Galadriel's like, I'm gonna murder us all. Like, just fuck them. Like,
it's like, okay, oh Jesus.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That conversation felt really good. But before we go, I have to say this. So when Halbrand meets Adar, right? This is where they almost got me to thinking Halbrand is Sauron. And I was thinking Halbrand is gonna kill Adar to cover up his.
That could have shown it, yeah, but no.
Because if he killed him, I'd have been like, yes, he's killing him. He's killing him to cover up. But when Galadriel was like, no, and again at that point, Galadriel, why do you not open that? You know what?
I agree. I thought she was gonna open it then too.
I'm gonna leave it alone because he's reaching for it, right? He's reaching for it. I'm like, that's
he's a good
fake.
actor.
I'm like, that's fucking fake, right? Everyone knows this is fake because as soon as he comes out and he calls for the old guy, I'm like, yes.
Oh, me too. I was like, okay.
And I know a couple people that were like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I'm like, what part did you see coming? Like, with Mordor was gonna happen, or that the key was fake?
I don't even think they needed the scene of the old guy. I think the old guy gave it away. Like, I think if they hadn't had the scene,
that's when you would have got me too. But as soon as he calls Waldrick, he's like, Waldrick, I have a job for you.
Mm-hmm.
Literally saying, go take the key while all of this is happening, and I'm going to divert them. Literally that.
Yep. I'm going to take the two best people and have them chase me.
Right. I'm thinking, so what I was thinking when that happened was like, oh, the kid is going to come out and notice Waldrick is gone, Theo, and then chase Waldrick and kill Waldrick because he killed his friend. And maybe, like, be there. Like, he's going to get there too late, but he's going to kill. I want Waldrick dead. I will say that right now. I want that.
No, Waldrick is alive and well, apparently, just hanging in Mordor.
Right. So. Like, I want him dead. But no, that is Rings of Power episodes 6 and 7. Thank you, Roy. We did it. We got to it.
We got to it. We're mostly back on track, at least for the finale for this show. So
for the finale. So next week we get 2 finales, 2 shows ending next week. She-Hulk.
It's gonna be a big week. It's a big Andor week too.
Yeah, big Andor week. She-Hulk is ending. Then Rings of Power is ending, and Game of Thrones is hitting episode 8.
8 tomorrow, and then 9 the week after. So
9, yeah, let's go. It's gonna be very interesting. So
we could do live react tomorrow because Monday is a day off for me.
Hey, let's go. So, I'm down. So again, thank you, Roy, for making this happen. We will catch you maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow for Game of Thrones, and then we will definitely see you on Wednesday for She-Hulk finale.
Yeah, Andor.
Andor, and then Thursday for She-Hulk. I feel like I've done this every time. Well,
because Marvel was on Wednesdays for so long. So
yes. We will see you next week. Don't forget to.
There's one subscription to rule them all, and that's to E2CC.
Oh man, thank you so much for being here, man. Because I don't know if I could do this, but we will see you next week. Thank you very much. Peace.